So once again, two great readings. I'm going to just skip the first reading because in Ezekiel it's really a reading for pastors, and pastors really meaning bishops and church leaders who take care of themselves instead of the people. So that's an indictment on all of us. So hopefully you pray for the leaders that they do not just take care of themselves, but take care of the people first. And then he goes through, and I think that as a church struggle sometimes when that's a problem. It becomes easy to sort of live the easier life, and not take care of the different needs because there's always evil present that can tempt us. But that's true for anyone who's doing good work. Sometimes you take care of yourself instead. So that's for us to reflect on, and maybe for you to help pray that leaders, that shepherds be true shepherds, and not ones who steal their sheep or steal from their sheep or take from them. The more important, what I think is the gospel is also a struggle, because the gospel, a lot of ink has been spent because it just seems so unjust. We as the people who are unjust, who believe in justice, have a hard time with the idea that someone who worked in the vineyard all day got the same pay as the one who worked only 1 hour. And it's so kind of against our idea of justice that some other religions have come up with like levels in heaven, so that for those who like go to mass every day, well, you might get the top tier of heaven, and then those who sort of just squeaked by, they're in the basement of heaven, but at least they're in heaven, so that's good. And they come up with these different levels because we want something to say about us. What about us who've been faithful all day, all this time? I'm going to get the same reward as someone who just, like converted on their deathbed? That's not fair, right? Because that's what we claim. It's like a fair. We want it to be fair. And I love it, God's words at the end, because he's like, look, this is what we agreed to. And he said, are you envious because I am generous? And that's the difficulty that we always have as God's people, is the thing of comparing. Comparing us with other people, comparing ourselves. What did they get maybe from God and I didn't get from God? They seem to be blessed. I'm not blessed. I'm more blessed than they are. If I do this, then this makes me, higher in God's eyes. There's that tendency that happens among God's children that I think is just it's born in with us because of sin, and you could see it in families. I know as a parent, sometimes you talk about, you have one child who needs a little more help. So you're a little more generous to that child. You give more to that child or something. And you have the other kid saying, hey, what about us? If you gave them $10,000, you're going to give everybody $10,000 because that's the way it's fair. And the parent would say, no, he needs more. You're all set. He needs more help. And so I'm going to give him more attention. And then you can see that children are jealous and envious of one another in a family. And multiply that by God's family. And you have some people that say, how come I had to be good my whole life and I get heaven and they get heaven just like I do and they didn't? And then it's really about the most important thing to recognize is God does what he wants with his creation, and that we are not to compare ourselves with anyone else, but whether anyone is blessed other than us, why someone's blessed more than others. Our relationship is with God. We don't answer for anybody else. We're not rewarded by anybody else. That our focus is really on our call and how we lived our one call with God, and that's for whom we answer at the end of the day, and that's to whom we answer. And in the end, we cannot, even the idea of being jealous or envious of anyone else because either they had an easier life or that they got more attention from mother and father, whatever it is, all of that is all part of the sin. And that's why Jesus says in this parable, his Father is free to do what he wants. And if he wants to give the person sitting next to you more gifts, that's none of your business. That's what God does in that person's soul. And if he wants to give you less, right, and then someone else, then whatever he gave to someone else, that is about your relationship with God and not comparing with anyone else. And it's sometimes a hard pill to swallow because Even we've had many discussions with people. They want everything to be equal. We all should be born into the exact same spot with all the exact same opportunities and with all the exact same talents. And God didn't make it that way. So tough, right? That's what we have to deal with. And I think as much as we would like to, everybody's got different gifts. And some people hate it that this person got away with something, and how come I didn't get away with it? And I said, look, in the end, take care of yourself. You will answer for yourself, they will answer for themselves, and God decides what he wants to do with the gifts and with the creation that he has done. And our goal is not to fall into the evil of being envious or jealous because God seems to be more generous to other people, or God seems to allow other people to get away with things. And if they get to heaven and I have to do all this and I get to heaven the same reward, that's not fair. And then of course we also hear, life isn't fair. God decided this way, right? You do whatever it is you've been called to do and the gifts you have been given and the resources you have to do the good that God asks of you. And the old, what you learn in kindergarten, don't worry about the other people and what their style, they have. Make sure you've done all that you can do in the end.